Hello and welcome yet again to an exciting episode, an exciting program, The Unspoken. My name is Wangui Gachanja, and I believe that this program has been of a blessing to your life, to your other partner, to your neighbors, to your children. So tell a friend to tell a friend that this Unspoken is on air, and we are also on our social media platforms. You can get us there. Today I have traveled all the way to, is it called Gilgil constituency? Yes. A very beautiful place. We are at the Presbyterian Rehab Center, and with me I have a very great friend of mine, someone that I have known, someone who surprises me with what she does. You know, there are those people who you see growing up and you don't think that they can take the direction they have taken. With me in studio I am with Catherine Ngugi, and probably she can introduce herself.
Wow, thank you, Wangui. My name is Catherine Wangui Ngugi. I am a counseling psychologist, a trained addiction counselor, and currently I'm the administrator in this facility, Presbyterian Care Center.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, a trained you've said Sikia what?
A counseling psychologist and a trained addiction counselor.
Or addiction counselor.
Yes.
And that brings us to what we are talking about today. We will be dealing with the drug addiction. And when we talk about drugs, we are touching on different drugs that people get addicted to. Why do we bring this program to your living room? This is because we have husbands, we have brothers, we have wives, we have sisters. Actually, addiction does not know gender. It is cutting across every other person. Just because today we are in a rehab that deals with male does not mean that the problems that are being faced by our youth are aligned to one sex. And that is why we are bringing this program to you this night, and we are talking about drug addiction. Probably we can start by understanding what is drug addiction.
Well, when we talk about drug addiction, we simply mean that there is a dependency of a substance. In this case, when you talk about substance, it's any chemical that will alter the normal functioning of the body. So with addiction, we say that there's an alteration of what happens. Psychological alteration, behavior alteration, and we can simply say that one becomes dependent of any drug of choice.
All right.
Yes.
By drug, because I can see, I usually see mostly our mothers, they say, siwezi nikafanya kitu kama sijakunywa chai. Saa sita ikifika ninaumwa na kichwa. What do we talk about when we say I cannot do without tea, I cannot do without coffee? Is this part of the addiction we are talking about?
Yes, yes. There is caffeine in tea that make us to look for tea whenever, and that connection comes in that I cannot function properly, or I'm having some headache because I didn't take tea in the morning. So what happens is that there's the craving of this substance, and that's why when you define addiction, there are now all these terms, craving, when the body demands that I need to have this thing for me to function normally.
All right.
There's also what we call the withdrawal symptoms. When the body misses this thing, there is a way the body behaves.
Reacts.
Yeah.
All right. So we have understood that addiction is any time that your body is asking for a chemical.
Yes.
You are dependent.
You become, that is the word, dependent.
You are dependent to that substance.
Yes, please.
All right. Now we are at a rehab center that you're working in. What are most of the cases that you deal with?
For the last 6 years, because this is our 6th year of operation, the most case that we're dealing with is alcohol addiction. And you know that with alcohol being a regularized thing in our country, so we have normalized that
it is okay to drink.
And coincidentally, every function, be it dowry, be it circumcision, we now have this element that we need to climax this function.
Lazima kuwe na bash.
Lazima kuwe na bash. Na kuclimax bash.
Sherehe bila pombe si sherehe.
Si sherehe. And so that normalizing things that we have to take alcohol for the sherehe to be very okay and to be very very colorful. Then you can imagine even the initiation stage of where we are starting to abuse alcohol. From the statistics that were done recently by NACADA, the initiating stage is now at 6 years.
Wow.
Yes, a child of 6 years is now taking alcohol.
You know, a child of 6 years, that is a child in grade 1.
Exactly.
And already that child is indulging in taking liquor.
Yes.
Just because we are doing birthdays. By the way, I've seen people doing birthdays for kids, but jioni wazazi wanakutana wanakunywa pombe.
Right, and they're doing it in the presence of the children. So you can imagine, and some of us, we are buying all these liquors and alcohols and putting them in our fridges. So this child, out of curiosity, we say that the mind of a children, the mind of a kid is very empty. So whenever they see something, it's monkey do, monkey see, monkey do. Very good imitators. So even in as much as we want to enjoy life and do these things in our living rooms with our friends, and we are still telling these children, go and sleep, but they just pass and see whatever is on the table. So the mind of this kid will tell this child to go and try, what is this thing that daddy has kept in the fridge? What is this thing that mommy and her friends were taking last night? So this is how vulnerable we are exposing our children when it comes to matters alcohol.
I don't know if you're relating with what Catherine is talking about, because many are the times that you get cases from school, and the first thing as a parent, what we do, we defend our kids. It's very true. You may not know that your child is indulging in this, but what Kate has said is very important, and it's actually ringing in my mind right now. How many things have you done in your house? How much liquor have you stored in your fridge? How much, some of you think it is wine. Wine is okay, but you're not in that house 24/7. That child is in that house more times than you're in that house. Probably you leave that house 5 in the morning, you get back at 11 at night. That kid is in that house. Probably you're not there for weekends. Actually, you put that liquor there for that time that you have a few minutes to be in that house. But this child is doing it on a daily basis, because I see mommy do it, I see daddy do it. I remember of a story of a lady who was telling us the kid consumed almost everything, and now they added water into that bottle. Because they already know, you know, a kid, they are very sharp, they already know we have done something wrong. So they added water, and she was telling us how much more have they done. Because if that was the final bottle, probably walikuwa wamekunywa maji mingi sana, and he was serving the guest water. So this is something that is happening in our absence, but in our own homes. So when you call for a case in school or someone reports this, don't be quick to defend that kid. Get to understand, is it true, and how did it begin? Now, one, we have said alcohol. Another substance.
Another drug is tobacco. Tobacco is also a legal substance in our country.
Yes.
And tobacco is now coming up.
Tobacco ni young.
Tobacco, cigarette has also tobacco in it. We have, okay, we talk about, let me generalize this and call it nicotine.
Oh, yes.
Because nicotine, when you talk about nicotine, we have a drug like a cigarette. Nicotine content in it. We have shisha, we have kuber, and all these, we also have tobacco like the one you're talking about that they sniff through the nose. So tobacco is another chemical that is a problem, and you can imagine that we look at the prevalence rates of these drugs. Tobacco is the second after alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah. Because with tobacco, you talk about the effects on the body. Talk of the many cancers that we have nowadays. Cancer of the mouth, cancer of the throat, because of the nicotine content in these substances. We've talked about kuber, shisha, and tobacco and cigarettes. The nicotine content is very high, and they say that like they have 700 chemicals, and also 100 chemicals that cause cancers. That's why you talk about all these cancers that we have been seeing around, because of the effects of the nicotine that people are taking.
All right.
Yes.
Now, tobacco, I think since way back, tobacco has been there.
Yeah.
Probably you have been in this business for quite some time. Why is it legal? Why is it that tobacco is still legal?
Wangui, I can't tell exactly why it is still legal after all this damage, but we talk of the warning on the packet, and then one is left to decide. One is left to decide because the warning is there. Look at a packet of Kuber. It is written it's a mouth refreshener, but again it's written that has high nicotine content and it causes cancer. But still, we just people will continue consuming. Actually,
nowadays I've seen even the cigarettes, the pack, they have drawn a coffin.
Yes.
And very damaged livers. But people will still consume that cigarette. Yes. I don't know why. All right. Now we get to what we are talking about, the alcohol addiction.
Yes.
How do we understand? Because I know people are dealing with this, and people are saying, huyu mtoto amesumbua sana, huyu mzee amesumbua sana. At what point do you say now this is an addiction?
Yeah, there's what we look at. There is a book we use that is called the DSM-5. That is the Diagnostic Statistic Manual. And for one to meet the criteria of being addicted, there is what we look into. So when you talk about that this person is now addicted, number one, I'll talk about the body becoming dependent on this substance, which is now alcohol. So when one takes alcohol, definitely, you know, our brain is wired in a way that when you do something good, there is a hormone that is released and then you feel good.
Yes.
So same case, when you take alcohol, there is this hormone that is released and you feel good. And the most organ that is affected when you take alcohol is the brain. And the brain has a way of creating a reward pathway. We call it a reward pathway because after taking the alcohol, there is this feeling good that happens. So if today I've taken 1 beer, Wangui tomorrow I'll take 2 because I'm looking for the initial effect.
I want to feel good.
I want to feel good. And so by and by, the body now adopts to this thing. And that's when you talk about dependence, is that the body will demand for more. Talk about tolerance. Tolerance is now, dependence is now the body depends on this thing. That's why you hear in the morning that a person who is alcoholic will go kutoa lock in the morning. So this person, there is a physical dependence on this substance because when there is shakes and tremors and ile mtete, he goes looking for the alcohol in order for him to start functioning again. And as early as 5 a.m. in the morning, you find these people walking around looking for the joints to go and toe a lock. So the other thing is tolerance, because I want to feel better than I felt yesterday. So if yesterday I took a bottle of beer, today I will look for 2 or even 3 because I want to feel what I felt yesterday.
Yes.
The other thing is when you talk about the withdrawal symptoms, and with the withdrawal symptoms is that when now the body becomes dependent, that I have to rely on this alcohol or my drug of choice, the body will scream out when there is instant stoppage of that chemical.
All right.
So what happens is that we develop what we call the withdrawal symptoms. And with the withdrawal symptoms, they are so rampant, especially for alcoholics, because when the body now demands this thing and it misses it, then the body will scream out that I need this chemical for me to function again. So these are the things we look into. And again, is this person becoming dysfunctional in life? What are the things that you used to do and they are no longer an issue, they are no longer a priority in life? You've heard of a person who used to go to work, they are ready,
they are absconding duty.
They are absconding duties. It's no longer a priority to them. So when that person becomes dysfunctional in life, then that tells you that this person needs help. And again, we have issues of hallucinating, seeing things that are not there. So when this person starts talking of, I am seeing things, but they are not there in the reality, then that tells you that this person needs some help.
All right. Those are almost 5 things that we have talked about.
Yes.
On how you realize that this person is addicted.
Yeah.
Now, before even we get to how do we treat, what are the symptoms, this person, we have already realized that this person, probably Wangui, is addicted.
Yes.
how do we get them to accept that they have a problem? Because I think that is where the biggest problem is.
Yes, yes. In fact, Wangui, that is where the problem is, because most people in addiction, they live in denial. And professionally, as addiction professionals, we say that addiction is a family disease, because the person who is abusing the drug doesn't care what is happening around. This person is almost dying out of the disease of addiction, but he doesn't want to realize that he has a problem. So it's the initiative of the family to take charge and assist this person, because out of, like now, the clients we are having at this sitting, I can say that 90% is involuntarily. It is now that the problem that the family takes charge, and they bring you the client to you.
Yes.
But now we are trained to do what we call motivational interviewing, and in this we talk with the clients, and we want to speak sense and to show this person that he really needs help. But thanks to God, but because along the program they turn out to be the best, because everything is self-awareness. When you realize that I have a problem and definitely I need some help, now that is the beginning of the treatment plan.
Yes.
Because after we realize that we have the problem, then we're able to be helped. But generally, addiction is a family disease, and those in addiction are always in denial. Yeah.
So even when they are coming here, they're still in denial?
They're still in denial. I can say of only, since we started, and I've told you this is our 6th year,
yes,
it is only like 2 or 3 that brought themselves voluntarily. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So my dear viewer, you can imagine what kind of a problem that we are dealing with. Probably you feel like you're losing it just because you have a husband, you have a brother, you have a sister, you have a mother, you have a wife. You are not alone. These things are there, but I have always said on this program, The Unspoken, we are bringing these things to your living room for you to understand that there is a solution. And some of these things, the solution first is you deal with it wewe kwanza, and understand also. By the way, do we have reasons as to why some people get addicted? Because I've found, or I've met some of these people, and they will always give you reasons. Is it true ama wanakuwa kitafutililia tu kitu ya kuekelea?
We have very many factors that will lead to addiction, and number 1, we talk about age. So you can, I've said that the body organ that is most affected by any chemical of abuse is the brain. So you can imagine if the development of the brain is from 0 age 25 years for a boy child, and 0 age to 18 years for a girl child, then age becomes a factor. So how early did this person start abusing the drug? So the early you start, the greater the damage or the effects of the chemical.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And number 2, we talk about it being genetic. Is it something in the family? And personally, I relate addiction with other chronic illnesses like diabetes or hypertensive, because even as we define addiction, we say that it is a chronic brain disease that is characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use despite the harmful consequences. So when you talk about genetic, it is something that is in the family. So we tell people, are you predisposed to this thing? And with self-realization, one is able to tell that if this thing is in our family, because you'll hear of children of alcoholics have high chances of becoming alcoholics later in life. So it is another factor, being genetic. And the other thing is the availability of the drug. So whatever is available for this kid where we are growing up, like now a child growing up in a canyon or where, the availability of drug will make this person to start abusing that kind of a drug. So these are the many factors that we will consider whether one will become addicted or not. But number 1 is age.
All right.
What is the initiating stage of using the drug?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is a Christian institution,
Right.
that we are dealing with all these issues. We've only touched on alcohol and tobacco.
Right.
At what point do you say now this is spiritual? This is scientific. Let me not say mental, but scientific. Yes.
I think there are some things that we cannot really separate. Because when it comes to addiction, and most families will come to us without really understanding what is happening to their loved ones. Because let's go mental way. When one has a mental condition, basically the family on the ground that does not understand whether this is an addiction or it is a mental condition.
Yes.
Because or it is a spiritual attack. These three things.
Yes.
Because
you said spiritual, mental,
and addiction.
And addiction.
Because with addiction, one thing leads to another. Because when one abuses these chemicals, there is what we call substance-induced psychosis. That is a mental condition that is brought along by the abuse of these chemicals.
Yes.
So you find that one thing leading to another. I'm addicted to cannabis or I'm addicted to alcohol. And again, there is a comorbidity of a mental illness that is coming along out of me abusing these chemicals.
Yes.
So it awakens the mental condition in me. So the family understanding that this is an addiction or a mental case, there needs to be a professional help along. And some of these mental conditions, they manifest like it is a spiritual attack. Because when a person starts talking about seeing things that are not in the reality, when I start telling you that a snake is biting me and it is here and we are here with you and you're not seeing it, then that tells you that something is wrong somewhere.
Yes.
So I'm talking about that there is a comorbidity or there is a correlationship between addiction, mental illness, and sometimes we go further to say that this something is beyond the two, the addiction and the mental case.
All right.
Yeah.
So now it becomes spiritual.
It becomes spiritual.
All right. Yeah. Remember, this is the Unspoken, and with me in studio we have a counselor, a trained counselor who is dealing with people who are dealing with different addictions. And as we have seen, we have described what addiction is. We have described the different types of addiction. We have also seen how addictions come up, and now I want us to look briefly on I have realized that this person is an addict. Yeah. And I really, because this is a loved one, I want to help this person. Yeah. How now do we start treating these people? Because at times I feel like we push them more into addiction. Yes. How are we supposed to deal with these people even before they get to a rehab and start treatment? Yeah. How do we treat them?
I'll say that addiction is very undiscriminating because it doesn't select whether you are learned or not. Yes. We are all vulnerable into becoming addicts. And I usually say that we are all addicted. We are all victims because there is this thing we try to stop and we keep on having these cravings to doing these things. Yes. Yes, deep down you know it is wrong, but there is that urge or persistent of doing this thing. Yes. So I'll say that number one is showing love to these people, because nobody really wakes up in the morning and decides I want to be an addict.
I want to ruin my life.
I want to ruin my life. Yes. Definitely no one would wish to live such kind of a life. Yes. And you know, with addiction is that there is where we start. There is that person who will just experiment with a certain drug and it becomes a problem. Yes. So definitely this person did not take himself to go and abuse a drug. And again, of importance, and the viewers must understand, is that addiction is not moral failure. There are many factors that are leading to addictions. So number one is understanding this person with a lot of love. Because I would say that, Wangui, in every one of us, there is an empty space. Yes. And we are looking to fill this void with anything, with something. Like now, people who go through traumatic experiences when they are growing up, there is this empty space that is created.
And they are just looking for something to fill that
space.
They're
just looking for something to fill that space. Many addicts will tell you that I went through adverse childhood experiences and I'm trying to forget my problems. And even older people, they will tell you that I am trying to forget my problems. Today, there is one person who wakes up in the morning, out of the pressure of life, he's going to drink, thinking that these problems will go away. But when he goes drink, and then he comes back, because after a while, become sober again, but you find that the same problem is still staring
there,
at
still
you.
waiting for you.
It is even worse than you left it. So I would talk of treating with these people with utmost love. Get to understand where is this person coming from. And that's what we tell parents. Any child in addiction, sit down and understand what is driving this thing, or what is happening in the life of this child. And again, listening as a parent, because at times you are so quick to judge our children. We don't want to listen to them. Like now a child comes and tells you that I don't want to be in boarding school. Get time to listen. Why and what is the reason as to why this person all of a sudden
doesn't want to be in a boarding school.
I don't want to go to church. Why? What is the problem? Because we are burying our heads and assuming that everything is okay, but in the real sense, not everything is okay.
All right. We are at Presbyterian Rehab Center. I don't want to use the R and L's in my tongue, but we are in a rehab center at a place called Eshareria. It's not Eshareria. Eshareria, Nakuru County. We are with Catherine Ngugi, an expert in the issues of addiction. And we will be with you next week as we look at how do we treat this, because it's a menace. Yeah, it's a menace. How do we treat these people? How do we help them cope back to the society? How do we help them cope in the rehab center? And also, this is a process that we are dealing with the client now. A client is the person who is addicted, and also we have the family. How do we transition between this person and the family and their workplace? Catherine has spoken about something very, very important, that addiction does not know status. Addiction does not know academics. Addiction does not know sex. Addiction does not know religion. It does not know tribe. It is not a respecter of anything. When addiction hits, it hits. So that is what we will be looking at next week. But before that, you can just say bye-bye and tell your people, labda sijaisema vizuri pahali huko. Yes.
We are at Presbyterian Care Center. We are located at Eshareria Center. We are a faith-based organization helping men in addiction. And you'll wish to reach us. Is it okay? Give our telephone
very
number.
True.
Our number is 0707 999 214. 0707 999 214. Thank you.
All right, that has been my time. My name is Wangui Gachanja, the Unspoken.